I'm here today to speak to you about healthy muscle, healthy lifestyle. What is a muscle? Muscle is a soft tissue found in most of the animals. They contain filaments of actin and myosin that slide past one another, producing a contraction that changes both the length and the shape of the cell. Function of the muscle is to produce motion and force. Muscle action is voluntary as well as involuntary. Cardiac muscles, which is the muscles of the heart, smooth muscles, which are the muscles of the various abdominal organs, are the muscles which are involuntary and not in our control. Skeletal muscles are voluntary, which are moving upon our command or as the brain commands. These skeletal muscles are basically divided into fast and slow twitch fibers, right? Muscles are predominantly powered by oxidation of fats and carbohydrates, but anaerobic chemical reaction also is used, particularly by the fast twitch fibers, to produce the ATP molecules, and which is used to generate power for the movement of the myosin filaments, which bring about the contraction ahead and the muscle growth also. So, if you look at the muscle fiber anatomy, basically if you look at the picture here, there is this small little myofibril, lots of myofibril come together, make a muscle fiber. Lots of muscle fiber come together to make a muscle fascicle. Muscle fascicles, lot of muscle fascicles ultimately make the muscle. The term of muscle was derived from a Greek word called musculus, which means a little mouse. It was basically called that way. As you can see, if you contract a bicep muscle, you see a small mouse popping out of your arms. It's something like that. Healthy muscles. What is a healthy muscle? There are more than 600 muscles in our body. Muscles help to move, lift, carry out various functions, pump blood, breathe, everything. Usually when we talk about muscles, we are basically talking about the skeletal muscles, which are the voluntary muscles. They let you move freely and keep your body strong, help you enjoy the sports, dancing, running, and all the activities. Your motion is, you move around, you motion, you speak, everything is carried out by these skeletal muscles. They support the joints and they help them to keep healthy, because muscles are the ones which are supporting the joints. As we go ahead, let us look at the muscle structure in a little bit of depth. The muscle fiber. How is the muscle fiber made up of? If you see, muscle fiber made up of small cells called sarcomeres. Those sarcomeres have the various edge zones, and the sarcomere has a zone called Z disc edge zone. I'm not going to go into the details of the structure of the muscle at the moment, because this is not the platform, but basically the muscle contraction starts at that cellular level and carries on to right where you see a big muscle contracting or a movement happening. So, skeletal muscles is composed of this thread-like myofibrils and sarcomeres that form a muscle fiber and are basic units of contraction, as I said. And the contraction basically helps to build the muscle ahead. So, muscle is meant to grow. That's for sure. You and me both agree, all of us agree that the muscles are meant to grow. How does a muscle grow? As you can see, at the sarcomere, at the cellular level, there are these actin and myosin filaments of the muscle, which form the muscle cell, which form the muscle myofibril. As I said, I explained earlier, the myofibrils make the muscle fascicle. The muscle fascicle makes the muscle belly, as we see it. So when you flex, for example, when you flex a bicep muscle, Each of those fibers is a muscle cell made up of 1,000 more links called sarcomeres. So these sarcomeres, when upon their contraction, bring out a muscle contraction, as explained earlier again. When our brain sends a signal to move, there is a chain reaction which happens, and each sarcomere and the tinier contractile fibers called the actin and myosin slide against each other, as I explained in the earlier slide. At that level is something called a sliding filament theory, which brings about a muscle contraction. This is where the magic of muscle growth happens. If there is a good movement there and with the required substance to carry out that contraction, the muscle will grow. We'll see that further in the presentation. How does it happen? How does the muscle contraction happen or the muscle growth happen? There is a process called where it is carried out by muscle protein synthesis. That brings out a muscle contraction and the muscle growth hence further. Muscle growth is a result of a complex process that adds myosin filaments to each muscle. This makes the cell bigger and stronger over time. So contracting of the myosin filaments makes the muscle stronger over time. It's not a one-day process. Over the period of time, when you keep on contracting those filaments and with a proper nutrient, which is basically the protein, it will help the muscle grow stronger and bigger. So it's not easy, as I said. It needs two things. So any engine which needs to build needs a mechanic and parts. So if you see, the parts are the protein here, and the mechanic is the mTOR, which is the complex protein, mTOR is the complex protein that regulates when and how much your body starts to build muscle. When you hit the weights, when you try and lift the weights, when you lift the weights, it is this mTOR which gets activated, and this process is called the muscle protein synthesis, or here we are calling it as MPS. It's not that simple though. So whenever there is an contraction or the exercise, the response of the exercise or response of the contraction of the muscle is muscle protein breakdown, which is kind of against the muscle protein synthesis. So these are the two opposite things. But how this muscle breakdown will help you to build muscle? It will only help you when you have a positive protein balance. If that positive protein balance is not there, the muscle won't grow, but it will neutralize. So positive protein balance is very, very, very important. MPS gets upper hand with positive protein balance, as you can see. mTOR needs a part. mTOR needs needs lots of parts. The parts here, again, because I referred the muscle as an engine, the parts are the essential amino acids. Most of the amino acid cannot be synthesized by the body. That's why we need to get it from the diet. Some proteins like leucine are especially important because they directly stimulate the muscle protein synthesis. So leucine is a very important amino acid out of all the amino acids which are required. Usually you get most of your protein from a very quality sources like the meat or the poultry. Poultry is beautiful. I would say poultry is the most important source of protein. Of course, there are dairy, there is nuts. They all are probably good source of protein, but I would suggest the best is the poultry. Three stresses. I basically wanted to throw a little bit of light on the three stresses. What happens during weightlifting? So when you lift weights, there is a mechanical tension produced, there is a metabolic stress, right? and there is a muscle damage. And that muscle damage heals and helps the muscle to grow with the help of protein and the stimulus from the exercise. So, we have known, we understand that there is protein which is required to build up the muscle, and muscle usually contains protein. But what are the other components of body which you find? The body has 4 components. Basically, there is water, which is called the body water. It is all about, in adults, if you roughly say, it's about 50% of body is of water, because your body, your fat, your blood, your muscles, they all contain, and the rest of the body fluids all contain water. These components can be further broken down, possibly if you go deeper, can be broken down into intracellular water and the extracellular water. So, these is what the body water is made up of. Then there is protein. Protein is all body muscles. It is all body muscles. Simple as that. And then there are minerals. Where does the minerals come from? Where are the minerals in the body? It's the bone tissue and the blood. These are the 2 places where the minerals are found. So, as we look ahead, fats, the 4th component, there are some less common but most important body composition terms which you should know at the moment is about the fat. These composition terms are, as you can see here, dry lean mass. Your dry lean mass is a combination of your weight attributed to protein and the bone mineral in your body. So, it's about the protein and the minerals, like the bone, your bloodstream and your muscles makes up your dry lean mass. Then there is lean body mass. I believe this is the most important factor of the components. The lean body mass is the combination of dry lean mass and the body water. Then there is skeletal muscle mass. Okay. The skeletal muscle mass, as you can see, not to be confused, it's not only the dry lean mass or your lean body mass, but this is all the muscles that you can grow and develop through exercise, like your pectorals, your biceps, your triceps, so on and so forth. So, that's the skeletal muscle mass. So, why does the muscle mass matter so much? It does matter so much. It needs to matter so much, because muscle mass can impact anybody's body mobility, overall health, strength, everything. Muscles are the largest component of your body weight, of your total lean body mass, as you say. And in fact, your muscles usually account to 50 to 60% of your complete body weight. So, that's why it's very important to have good muscle mass. Why is it important to have good muscle mass? As you may ask, yes, it is very important to have a good muscle mass, because as we age, as we reach the age for about 40, at the decade of 40, when we reach the decade of 40, usually your muscles deplete, or your muscles mass goes on decreasing by 8% every decade. But as you reach the age of 70, actually this depletion or the reduction of the muscle mass reaches double the amount, around 15 to 16%. So, muscle loss is basically, that's why you will see as we grow older, you don't have a lot of muscle, where the skin is frail, you don't see much of muscle around on the body. But and of course, yes, muscle loss can be accelerated by illness, can lead to increased risk of fall or fractures from them. They can also delay recovery from illness. That's why also there is a muscle loss. Our muscles basically play a vital role in all stages of our life, from allowing every movement to happen for the balance, contributing to the physical strength of our own physical strength, organ functions, as I said, the skin integrity, because if you lose the muscle mass, the skin becomes frail, and that's why you see those wrinkles on your body. It helps immunity. It does, of course, help wound healing also. So, these are the things, that's why your muscle plays a very vital role in all ages of life. So, it's important to protect and preserve your muscles. How do we do that? How do we improve the muscle mass? How do we protect? My suggestion, you should start weight training as early as possible. I mean, there are lots of myth going on to start the weight training at the not too young. There are lots of myths about weight training and the growth structure of our body and all, but that's all just a myth. So I would say you can start weight training at any time of stage of life. Depends on what kind of weights do you lift. The other thing is adequate nutrition. Adequate nutrition and maintaining the balanced diet are the great ways to keep your muscle health, or to support your muscle health, basically, as it's written here. But no single food provides all the nutrients necessary. So it's important to eat variety of foods. Just as you need oxygen to breathe, your muscles need nourishment from proteins and vitamin D to combat the breakdown which happens through exercise. So regular resistance exercise is a very effective way to increase muscle mass, and alongside a good nutrition. That's how you can improve your muscle mass. So going ahead, let's see what is the importance of diet and the muscle health. If you see, eating enough protein, which is usually called the building block of muscle, is essential to keep the muscles healthy. You have various ways to store, our body has various places to store, as you can see, carbs and fats. That's why usually the obesity is there. The fat is stored and fat stays in the body. The carbs, if not used, stay in the body. Similarly, the protein stays only in the muscle mass, nowhere else. It's the only place where the protein can stay. So actually this protein, during the medical emergencies, when you need extra protein, you get the protein from these muscles. So that's why it is important to have a good lean body mass to use for healing, to use while healing, and it is seen to have better outcomes. Muscle is also an important part of the whole body metabolism. Usually your body expenditure happens throughout the day in eating food, digesting food, movement you do with your joints, and movement you do with your body and joints. But the most comes from your body's resting energy expenditure. The higher the resting energy expenditure, that's how you will burn a lot of fat or use up your carbs, which is required for the body functioning process. So we can not modify the resting energy expenditure, but we can modify the most by adding the lean body mass. So higher the lean body mass will be higher your resting energy expenditure. So that's how it will help in metabolism. While it is a myth that muscle is highly metabolically active compared to other organs, muscle is the only organ you can increase and boost your metabolic rate, because you definitely cannot add another kidney or a lung, but you definitely you can put plenty of muscle over time. Finally, gaining muscle is also important in avoiding two biggest problems, which are the muscle loss, which is called as sarcopenia, and bone loss, which is osteoporosis. So it is very important to avoid this, from the muscle loss from happening and the bone loss from happening. So gaining muscle is very important for that also. So would you say muscle is your armor against disease or fountain of the youth? Possibly yes, it is. It is the one which is very important. So muscles will make you healthier to lead a healthier lifestyle, I believe. So how do you get that? Muscles get stronger by exercise and physical activity, as we have seen before. Muscles which are not used get smaller and weaker. A well balanced diet is very much helpful. Protein is an important nutrient for the muscle to grow. That's why it's called a building block. So protein should be achieved from these various sources like poultry, most importantly poultry, fish, I mean the seafood, the meat, the nuts, there are other various legumes and various other sources, as you can see in the picture. So, what is the power of the protein? The protein is very powerful. It's very powerful. It is an important component of every cell in your body. Body uses protein to repair tissues. That's the main function of this beautiful nutrient. Also, protein helps to make enzymes, hormones and other chemicals in the body. Protein is an important building block of muscles, cartilage, skin and blood. If you see that small little figure there in the graph, the power of protein is such that if you see on that graph, there is the hunger control and the time you last, every nutrient can last. If you see the refined sugars or the simple carbohydrates as we call it, it drops down in 10 minutes. I mean, your energy can be only used from those simple carbohydrates for around 10 minutes. The complex carbohydrates probably would give you from 30 to 60 minutes. Lean protein, only protein would give you much more, like 2 to 3 hours of energy is supplied by the protein. So you can last longer. And lastly, if you eat protein plus the complex carbohydrates, your energy is going to last much longer, which is more than 3 hours. So it is very important to building of the blocks like the bones, muscles, cartilage, skin and blood. How much protein is required? There is definitely a myth going on around saying extra protein builds more muscle. I don't think so that way. Possibly, not sure. The only way to build muscle is through exercise and having protein rich food. How much of protein is the requirement? According to the National Institute of Nutrition, approximate required for an Indian adult is 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kg body weight. So, for example, let's consider 1 gram per kg body weight. If you are weighing around 70 kgs, you require 70 grams of protein every day. And that's the requirement which will help you to gain muscle and carry out a lot of functions. Each meal should comprise of balance of protein, carbohydrates and fats. So just don't go behind protein, or just don't go behind carbs, or just don't go behind fats, as there are different diets which are in vogue at the moment. But a well balanced diet will always help you to lead a very healthy lifestyle. So these are the examples of having carbohydrates and protein together, like the chicken curry. As you can see, these are various examples: egg burjis and breads, some rice and dal. So in the end, so for a quicker progress, you should have a positive protein balance. That is the way your muscles will be helped to grow. Sources like meat, good protein sources like the meat, poultry, definitely dairy and soy, get protein from that high quality kind of sources. Your body needs energy to grow, so it helps to be in a caloric surplus, or at least maintenance if you are lifting, if you are new to like weight training or lifting. So you need that extra calorie surplus of protein supply. Remember, protein can always be used up. It doesn't get stored, it just gets stored in the muscles, and the muscles, when contract, they use it up. Make sleep a priority, both quantity and quality wise, because that's when the muscles recover, and in response the growth happens and they get stronger. So yes, hit the weights, train harder by adding volume. I mean, modify your weights, reps and sets over time. That's the key to the healthy lifestyle. The components of healthy lifestyle are right in front of you. Physical exercise in the form of definitely weight training, also the cardiovascular exercise, probably flexibility exercises like yoga, mental balance. Yoga can give you mental balance also. Balanced diet, social activities, enjoy free time, and of course, good quality sleep. These are the key for your healthy lifestyle. Hence, if you have a healthy muscle, you definitely will have a healthy lifestyle.